Hello everyone. Our podcast perspective for today has been driven by the topical subject of family dynamics and human behaviour as being played out by some members of the royal family at the moment. Obviously we've no first-hand knowledge of what's happening in the royal family. Our opinions are based on our own knowledge, skills and experience and on the stuff that's being reported basically in the media. Angela, what have we got this week?
So I think we're going to start by talking about something that's quite interesting, and that's order of birth. So some research has shown that behaviours can be driven by where we are within the family dynamics, so when we're born. So for instance, the firstborn can be the focus of our parents' aspirations, their expectations. So, and also unless they're a twin or a triplet or there are multiple births, then they're going to be the sole focus of their parents' expectations and their parents' attention. And being the sole focus of attention and being this firstborn can lead to behaviours such as having a sense of responsibility, wishing to please, a strong desire to maybe conform to what's expected by their parents. But also it can lead to some behaviours like rebellion. And then when another sibling comes along, it may well lead to jealousy of that sibling because of the way they have been treated whilst they've been what is essentially an only child. So I think by the time the second child's born, the expectations of that child by the parents can change as well. They may become more relaxed, so the younger sibling has more freedom. So things have changed, rules are weakened, and that child, the second child or the youngest, if there are only two, can also show their own types of behaviour. And these are general behaviours, remember, so we're just talking about what research has shown to be kind of general behaviours. So the second child might be weaker, and that might be because the older child may have done talking for them, they don't learn to talk as quickly.
You sometimes see almost a third parent, don't you, in an older sibling to a younger one, depending on the age gaps and other factors, but you sometimes see that too, don't you?
You certainly do, and especially if the children are born quite close to each other, that can happen. Or if there is then a third child, which obviously there isn't in the royal family dynamics that are leading this discussion, but that can happen, definitely. And the older sibling feels they have to take on responsibility for the younger siblings. But in doing that, in many ways, the behaviour of the younger child can then become more disruptive, because they are not having to take on that responsibility. But it also might be that they see, so I can talk from experience here, which is I'm a younger child, I'm the youngest child.
Really?
And my sister, my older sibling, was always a very good child, very quiet, compliant, and I was rebellious. So I was lively, shall we say.
Okay, I'll let you get away with that.
Lively. And I can remember my mother has said to me on a number of occasions that had she had me first, and had I had the same behaviour that I exhibited as a young child, she probably wouldn't have had any more children. And to be honest, from the things that I got up to, I probably would have said exactly the same.
Are you going to tell us any more about that?
I think I'll leave it there.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because I'm actually the eldest of three in our family. So again, it's interesting that we've got both of those angles covered between us, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think whether or not it was purely parental expectations, I think also part of the person that I am, very much felt a sense of responsibility. To this day, still feel that in a scenario, I'm the one that has to step forward and lead for the three of us, you know? So that sense of expectation, that feeling of having to make decisions for or to look after can continue well on into adult life, and that's certainly been my expectation. I think I was also always very conscious of the fact that every new responsibility that I got was hard won. it was a battle and it was a fight to be able to stay out later, or to to have something that perhaps your peers had, and it always was so much easier for my brothers coming along behind, because
you paved the way,
I
didn't
fought the battles.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
I think these things, okay, we are, if you like, likening this to the William and Harry situation at the moment, but I just think these things are very recognisable for people within their own family
They
groups.
are, these dynamics, what's happening at the moment. I think that many families out there, many people out there will be able to relate to them personally. Because of what's happened within their own family with their own siblings.
Yeah. So I think there's the sort of fundamental behaviours, I think that's what we're saying really, is the fundamental behaviours that can happen within any family.
Yes.
We have an example, allegedly, reportedly, of some of these behaviours playing out very publicly in at the moment with the William and Harry dynamic, don't we?
We do, yeah, very publicly.
So there can be other factors, and they don't necessarily relate to the scenario that we're discussing or we're linking our discussion to today. But for example, gender stereotyping, that can be really important and can influence, children, pink jobs and blue jobs, boys and girls, roles and expectations for behaviours. That can be a really strong dynamic within a family too.
Yeah, absolutely can. I think that's changing quite a lot now, though, isn't it? Gradually with
I think so.
Gender stereotyping, but it still happens.
Yeah, it does. As I say, and I think pink jobs and blue jobs is the modern parlance, if you like. I think that's probably the slightly more modern term that these things tend to get.
Yeah.
I think another factor, and again this one I think is obviously everyone will recognise, is very clear in the dynamic we're discussing today, and that's the role of trauma.
Which plays a huge role in families, doesn't it?
Yeah. Now in this case it was the loss of a parent at a very young age, and lots of other families endure that too.
They do.
But it can be other things. It can be a serious illness, it can be a divorce, it can be a different sort of bereavement. So more generally, the role of trauma in these situations. And unfortunately through life we all learn that a period of grieving will follow. And that's normal and it's healthy, for all it's uncomfortable, but it's normal and it's healthy. Yeah. And it's also an individual process. The way that I grieve will not be the same as the way that you grieve. It's a very personal thing. Some people work through that process and are able to regain some kind of normal life or normal balance after a very traumatic event. And unfortunately, some people just really struggle to do that. And this then can manifest itself with symptoms in the longer term. Anger, anxiety, depression, as a combination of those three. Yeah. Might be erratic behaviours, there can be physical symptoms and manifestations. Addictions, again, can be very common for people with unresolved trauma. Yeah, they can. Panic attacks, poor sleep, fatigue. It's an awful list, and it goes on and on and on, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yeah, definitely.
And I say these symptoms can be short-lived relatively in terms of your whole life, or some people take them with them through the entirety of their life.
They do. They carry them unless the trauma is resolved in terms of how they're dealing with it.
Yes.
And I think that's one of those things, and we can carry things through our lives, certainly around beliefs. And I think one of the things that's quite interesting in the current situation, which is sort of linked to the idea of limiting beliefs. So there's been a lot of talk, and obviously because of the name of the book that's come out or is coming out, around this idea of an heir and a spare in the royal family. And so having this idea that being given or being told by whoever you're told by something to do with you at a young age, so in the royal family case, Harry being referred to as a spare, can affect you in such a way that you carry that with you in a way that is deemed to be what can be termed a limiting belief. So you believe that is what's happened. It's like if you're at school, and I know this from people that I've seen and people that I know, that when they've been at school and they've been told, oh, you're no good at maths, you'll never get anywhere at maths, or you'll never get anywhere at sport. And then they go through their whole life believing that they're no good at maths, believing that they're no good at sport, because they've been told that. Yeah. And so we have this thing going on out in the media where there's this belief has been carried through this person's life, and it's limiting them in terms of their thoughts and in terms of their behaviour, and that can happen to anybody. And
it's a prevention, really, of developing your own true potential.
Yes.
Actually,
Yeah.
unless it's tackled and dealt with. And specifically in this case, as I say, the term spare. We don't know how accurately or generally that was applied,
No.
but clearly it's enough of a role that a book is to be named that way. And you can understand that, as I say, would make you feel. Does it make you feel second best? Does it limit the way you view yourself?
Exactly.
Does it limit your own potential for development and growth?
Change your view of who you are within a certain family, in an organisation, in an environment. And I think we all do it to a certain extent. So we all have limiting beliefs. It might be, I'll never be a successful businesswoman, or I'll never
be any good at maths.
Exactly. But then there are other people, of course, who were told you'll never amount to anything at school, and that's driven them to amount to something, but in a way that is productive and good for them in a really healthy way. So it's. I find it very interesting the way that this is all playing out in the media.
Yeah.
But actually, we can all relate to the certain aspects of behaviour and the thought processes that are going on, or that appear to be going on in this situation. Yeah. Because we don't know for sure, but we can only look at this from our point of view.
At the beginning, we're basing this purely on what's reported.
Yeah,
but actually, most people will identify these behaviours in themselves, or in a family member, or in a friendship group, or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think for me, the other factor here that perhaps is much more unique to the William and Harry scenario is the sort of the aspect of the very high profile living.
Yes.
We all know, many of us will remember the fact that they've just lived a very public life. Privacy is obviously highly valued, but very rare.
Very rare.
Mistakes are played out in a very public environment, widely reported, possibly exaggerated. We don't know. We don't know which of those things we are. And so generally, the risks they take are higher because the consequences are so much greater.
That's so true.
Now, some people thrive on that, don't they? And some people are inhibited and intimidated by that. And, again, we speculate, don't we, on what's really going on here.
We do. I think for us, it's hard for people like you and I, it's very hard to imagine how it must be to have media follow you constantly.
Yes.
And your whole life being played out like that. We're able to just walk down the street, go in, you might see somebody and say hello, but
and think, why didn't I not put more mascara on?
Yeah, exactly. And you always see your hairdresser when you haven't done your hair. However,
but that's the biggest risk, isn't it? For us,
it is, and this is being played out on the world stage. Yes. It's not just this country. This is the world looking. The whole world is looking at them. And even though they are in a family where some people may view them as having so much money that they have a privileged life, there's a question around whether that is a privilege. And, there's a whole other discussion to be had around wealth and what that actually means.
Privilege and charmed lives, all of those things.
Yeah.
Because actually maybe another time we'll talk about the fundamental things in life that actually make us happy. And easy to say if you've got it, but maybe money isn't always what we think it would be.
Yeah,
but I think, maybe there's a whole other topic there.
I think there is a whole other topic there. Yeah,
we need
absolutely.
to put that one on the list, don't we? I've only just thought of it. It's a long
Money.
list, isn't it? So I think, the high profile lives that they have is obviously a factor that we can't discount, and perhaps, although other people will have some similar difficulties and challenges in their life, most of us don't have to operate in that arena.
No, we don't.
So that's something I think particularly unique to that subject.
Yeah. And also in the institution that they live in. We've talked about this briefly, not within the podcast, but about the fact that they've been brought up in this regimented institution with huge expectations on them around how they should look and how things should be. outside. I mean, I know there are families where there are expectations placed on people,
Yes.
even,
Yes.
you know, locally. I gave you an example earlier, didn't I, about when my sister and I went on holiday, and my grandmother, who we were very, very close to, loved her to bits, had lots of fun with her. But one of the things that she said, in fact, I think it was probably the last thing she said to us, was don't let the side down, because we were going to meet family members that we'd never met before. You know, so even in your everyday family, as I would class us, one of our family members, our grandmother, who was wonderful, in fact, she always reminded me of the Queen, she was the one that was saying, you know, you must act in this particular way.
And there quite often is a different doting, more loving or more openly loving relationship between a grandparent and a child, and even between sometimes a parent and a child.
So there can be.
Perhaps that's even more of a statement, really, or a reflection of her views, to say that to you and your sister.
Probably more to me than my sister.
Well, I'm only going on what you've told us in the last few minutes. But yeah, maybe she knew, actually. maybe she knew exactly who she needed to say that to.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Okay, so we just outlined some of the issues, some of the factors there, and I guess what we should maybe close with talking about how we would help with some of those issues as hypnotherapists.
Yeah, so I think with hypnotherapy, certainly in terms of perhaps behaviours that you've grown up with that you might wish to change, we might do something like inner child work, working with your inner child, or perhaps, you know, regressing back to a time when the behaviour first was exhibited and seeing whether we can change that, or change your view on that. Because sometimes what works for you as a child or a young adult doesn't then work for you as an adult. You know, you need to, or you might want to change the way you're acting. So we would do that. We might do a reframe on behaviour, that type of thing. And obviously there's more forward thinking, so positive visualization about the future,
confidence building.
I mean, what else would you do?
So I would possibly do a reframe, which for a layperson is just literally repeating the event in a positive way, and so you effectively try to change the negative memory to something more positive, and the benefits of that can be magnificent. I think self-confidence would be important here, encouraging people to actually just have the faith in what they believe to be true. Maybe goal setting as well. You know, maybe we need just to give them some targets to take their life in the way that they want it to go.
In the way they want. But it's really important that that this comes from the person.
Yes, they're their goals.
They are their goals. It's something that they want to do. So just working with those in order to help them to get from A to B, to be able to feel much better about themselves.
I think particularly when you're talking about anger, anxiety and depression, disturbed sleep can be a big problem, even if that's not immediately obvious. So I think for me that's always a check-in point as well. Honestly, I see very few clients that wouldn't benefit from improving their sleep. It's definitely a recurring theme in the people that I work with.
I think it is a recurring theme, because I mean, your anxiety, when you're feeling like that, and your depression and such like, the thoughts are going over and over, aren't they? And they're preventing you from sleeping. That's what's happening, and it's about getting to that point where you're feeling better. And
sleep is so vital in terms of our bodies recharging, renewing, restoring, but also you know, in terms of just processing some of the things that are unpleasant in our life. That happens during our rapid eye movement sleep. So you need good sleep to get good rapid eye movement sleep. Set you up better for the following day.
Absolutely, totally. So on that note, we've sort of come to an end there.
I think so. It feels like a good
it feels like a good point to end on. But we are still going to end on.
I'd forgotten about this bit.
Had you? Yeah. So I'm throwing it out there, Karen.
Okay.
So 3 positive things from you.
3 positive things. Okay. Well, it just happens to be Saturday, so I had time for my lovely walk, and this will keep cropping up, but it's genuine. Just a walk in the morning is so good to set me up for an effective day, and every day I'm able to do it. I really value that.
Yeah.
What else today have I done? Oh, I've seen you. Can I have that? You can have that. I'll take that. I've done another podcast, and so that's good. What else am I going to go for? I think my last one might be that I did actually clean my oven yesterday.
You did. You sent me a photograph as proof.
And it's really not my favourite job, so I'm very proud of myself that I did achieve that this weekend.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Sorry, listeners, you've now got a totally false impression about me. Okay, so you've reminded me that we do this, so I'm going to say to you, Angela, what's been good since I spoke to you last?
What's been good? So I think this week, what's been good for me is I've really enjoyed wearing bright jumpers.
Yeah, I've noticed the bright jumpers.
I've had bright jumpers on this week, which has put me in a really good mood.
Yeah.
It's made me feel better.
Okay, I totally understand that.
So that's been fantastic.
Okay,
And
what else?
I also have been having a bit of an issue with some nerves and muscle problems. So this week I went and had a massage and some acupuncture. Oh, nearly choked on that. Acupuncture, which was absolutely fantastic. I think I fell asleep actually. But,
Did you snore?
I think I might have done. I think I woke myself up. So they probably heard, but never mind. That's okay, isn't it? We don't mind that at all, do we?
People fall asleep on us, don't they?
This is true. This is very true.
Okay, so that sounds good. Always good to find some time to do something for yourself, particularly if it's relieving unpleasant symptoms.
Yeah.
What else?
And it's lovely. What else? So what can I say? What else? So I think I don't drive very often.
Okay.
But I've got my car out today
Right.
to drive round here. It's not very far.
It's
I know.
not very far.
But I knew it was going to rain.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
whether anyone can hear it, but it is absolutely throwing it down with rain at the moment. And I absolutely love my car.
Right.
I
So
love
the
driving
2-minute drive
So
from your house to mine.
Yeah, it was great.
That was your
So I get to go 2 minutes back as well.
Okay, so it's 4
That's
minutes.
4.
Yeah. Okay. And because, as you know, I just like to. One more thing.
Oh, one more. Oh, that's pushing it.
Yeah,
Isn't
it
it?
is.
So that's putting me on the spot.
It's one of my
I'm
tools.
pushing it. I'll tell you what else I did. Yes, what else I did this week, which was really good, was I had a really good spring clean of my therapy room.
Okay.
So it's a dream in there now.
Right. I may have to come and check that out.
I can send you a photo.
Okay, but that's my oven cleaner yesterday.
But you're very welcome to come and check out my therapy room.
Will I need paddles for schools? I don't know. Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you've managed to find some things that made you happy this week. Yeah.
Brilliant. So I think we've come to the end
I
now,
think so.
haven't we?
I don't know how long that was, but I think it feels like a good stopping point for me.
It does.
Yeah.
And I think next time we're probably going to talk about mood boosting hormones, aren't
Yeah.
we?
Yeah, I think so. I think that would be good. Our friends serotonin, dopamine, etc. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do that, shall we?
Yeah. So we're going to talk about those.
Mm.
So thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you,
Hope
listeners.
you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, and we'll speak
And
to you
we'll
soon.
speak to you soon.
Thanks.